This is why British Leyland actually died. It wasn't just unions. Coventry, 1977. The air in the cavernous Longbridge plant is thick with the metallic tang of coolant, exhaust fumes, and a pervasive unspoken tension that chokes the assembly line. The constant hum of machinery, a weary sigh echoing off grime-stained walls, offered no comfort. Every glance exchanged by the dwindling workforce held a flicker of resignation or resentment. A lone, weary engineer, grease smeared on his overalls, adjusts the misaligned headlight on a brand-new British Leyland Marina. His shoulders sagged under the weight of an industry slowly dying. Its chrome glints weakly under a bare fluorescent bulb, a lonely beacon in the dim factory. He tightens the screw, his jaw set, a familiar bitterness rising in his throat. He knew that just 1 week earlier, the entire Michael Edwards story begins in 1930 in a sun-drenched coastal city called Port Elizabeth, South Africa. His father, a meticulous civil servant, and his mother, a woman of quiet strength, instilled in young Michael a sharp intellect and an unwavering belief in rational order. Their home, though comfortable, held no grand visions of automotive empires. Instead, it offered a grounding in logic. One afternoon, as a boy of perhaps 10, Edwards watched his father meticulously repair a complex pocket watch, its tiny gears a marvel of precision. He would later recall that moment, a quiet fascination blooming. "I saw then that every small part had a purpose, and when one failed, the whole mechanism stopped." By 1948, Edwards left home for the University of the Witwatersrand, driven by a burgeoning interest in how things worked, not just cars, but systems. He pursued mechanical engineering, not as an artisan, but as a strategist, poring over blueprints and industrial processes. His first job after graduation, with Chloride Group, was not glamorous, starting on the factory floor, observing every weld, every assembly line. But soon, a seasoned plant manager, Mr. Davies, recognized Edwards's piercing analytical gaze. Davies took him aside, not to teach him to fix a machine, but to show him how to optimize a whole section, how to foresee bottlenecks before they crippled production. Edwards earned his first true notice by redesigning a battery casing process, cutting waste by 15%. He wasn't just fixing, he was improving. He was given more responsibility, a clear path laid out for him. In the mid-1950s, Edwards faced a significant professional challenge at Chloride. He was tasked with spearheading the development of a new industrial battery line, a crucial project for the company's expansion into new markets. Despite his meticulous planning and rigorous engineering, the initial prototypes consistently failed field tests, cracking under stress in unexpected ways. The client, a major mining conglomerate, threatened to pull the lucrative contract, leaving Edwards with a sense of quiet desperation. The workshop, usually humming, fell silent for weeks as engineers questioned every calculation. It was a stark reminder of the unforgiving nature of industry, a financial cliff edge that made him re-evaluate everything. He would later adapt, introducing a more stringent, almost relentless testing regime, understanding that engineering triumph demanded an obsessive focus on resilience. While Michael Edwards honed his executive capabilities in the industrial world, far across the sea, a different kind of mechanical brilliance was taking shape in England. In 1959, at the Longbridge plant, Alec Issigonis unveiled a technical marvel, the Mini. It was a triumph of engineering ingenuity, an automotive breakthrough. Issigonis, working with a relentless focus on space efficiency, pushed the wheels to the corners, turned the engine sideways, and used rubber cone suspension. The result was a car only 10 feet long, capable of seating 4 adults with astonishing handling. It wasn't just a car, it was a packaging revolution, proving Britain's engineering prowess was alive and well, winning the prestigious Monte Carlo Rally multiple times. Its compact design and front-wheel drive were years ahead of their time, a testament to what British minds could achieve. The world took notice. Even Enzo Ferrari owned 3. The foundational genius of the Mini, however, was quickly overshadowed by forces that would push British Leyland to the brink. By 1968, British Motor Holdings, the Mini's parent, merged with Leyland Motor Corporation, creating British Leyland Motor Corporation, BLMC, under the ambitious Lord Stokes. The intention was to forge a national automotive champion, but the reality was a collection of disparate brands, often competing, with overlapping models and a profound lack of unified strategy. In the early 1970s, the company was plagued by chronic underinvestment in modern plant and equipment. Quality control became a recurring nightmare. Tales of Austin Allegros with square steering wheels or panels that didn't quite fit eroded public trust. Meanwhile, a series of damaging strikes, often over trivial matters, paralyzed production. At Longbridge and Cowley, assembly lines would grind to a halt, costing millions in lost revenue and further damaging BL's already shaky reputation. The culmination arrived in 1974 with the three-day week and the global oil crisis, slamming the brakes on an already struggling giant. Industry insiders, like former BMC executive Graham Day, began to voice public concerns that the enterprise was simply too large, too unwieldy, too internally fractured to survive. The corporation was bleeding cash, and many believed it was only a matter of time before it flatlined. It was into this swirling maelstrom that Michael Edwards was called. In 1975, the Ryder report, commissioned by the Labour government, recommended massive state aid to save BL, leading to its nationalization. But with the lifeline came political interference, blurring lines of responsibility and accountability. Then, in 1977, Prime Minister James Callaghan made the audacious decision. He appointed Michael Edwards as chairman. Edwards, an outsider with a reputation for ruthlessness from his time at Chloride, was seen by many as a last resort. He arrived to find a company in utter chaos, a sprawling empire of warring factions, a workforce demoralized and militant, and a product range largely outdated. His solution was brutal, pragmatic, and entirely against the prevailing sentiment of the time. A drastic program of factory closures, mass redundancies, and an uncompromising stance against wildcat strikes. Many called it industrial suicide, betting the future on confrontation. From 1977, Edwards embarked on his audacious gamble. He confronted union leaders directly, sometimes in fiery public debates, pushing through redundancies of over 100,000 workers. He sold off profitable parts of the business to fund investment in core brands. He championed the development of the Austin Metro. Launched in 1980, a critically important small car designed to recapture the spirit of the Mini. The Metro, compact and fuel-efficient, was a symbol of hope, a tangible product of Edwards's vision for a leaner, more focused BL. It sold well initially, providing a much-needed morale boost. But the years of accumulated damage, the toxic culture of underinvestment, and the ongoing perception of poor quality were not easily erased. Edwards, against all odds, managed to stave off immediate collapse, but the deeper wounds remained. Edwards left British Leyland in 1982, having stabilized the ship but unable to fully turn its trajectory. The company, renamed Rover Group, fought on for several more years, launching new models and forging alliances, notably with Honda. However, the initial flaws, the fragmentation, the chronic lack of investment, the politicization of industrial decisions, and yes, the deeply entrenched industrial disputes, had taken too great a toll. In 1988, Margaret Thatcher's Conservative government finally sold the remnants of British Leyland to British Aerospace, marking the privatization of the last major British-owned volume car manufacturer. Reflecting on his own career, Edwards once noted, "It is the courage to admit errors and to change direction that is often the most difficult, and yet the most necessary." He understood that British Leyland's death wasn't solely the fault of unions, but a complex, tragic culmination of decades of corporate mismanagement, a deeply fragmented structure, insufficient government support when it mattered most, and a failure to consistently invest in its own future. The promise of Issigonis's Mini, a beacon of British engineering, ultimately buckled under the weight of an unsustainable industrial reality. The collapse of British Leyland wasn't just the end of a corporation. It was the slow, painful dismemberment of a national dream, leaving an indelible scar on Britain's industrial landscape. While easy to blame the unions, as many did and still do, our journey through BL's tragic history reveals a far more complex tapestry of failure. The fundamental truth, the one that the title of this film promised to deliver, is that British Leyland was doomed by a fatal cocktail of chronic underinvestment, an unmanageable merger of too many disparate brands, a lack of clear strategic vision, crippling quality control issues stemming from poor design and manufacturing, and a constant stifling political interference that prioritized short-term fixes over long-term stability. The industrial disputes, while undeniably damaging, were often symptoms of these deeper systemic illnesses, not the sole cause. They were the fever, not the virus itself. What survived of this behemoth are fragments now thriving under foreign ownership. The iconic Mini, reborn and revitalized, the rugged Land Rover and luxurious Jaguar, both pillars of modern automotive prestige. Yet the ghost of British Leyland still haunts. Its story remains a stark historical lesson in the perils of industrial overreach and the human cost of corporate and political failure. It taught us that national pride alone cannot fuel an industry, and that market realities, strategic leadership, and consistent quality are non-negotiable. What was lost was a unified British automotive giant. What survived was the enduring spirit of innovation, repurposed and perfected elsewhere. If this deep dive into industrial history resonated with you, if it gave you a new perspective on a story often simplified, then hitting the like button truly helps. It's not just a digital pat on the back. It's a signal to YouTube that content like this, documentaries that peel back layers of complex events, deserves to be seen by more people. Your tap on that button helps this channel continue to invest the time and research needed to bring these intricate narratives to life, ensuring they reach an audience who values understanding the why behind historical turning points. And if you're interested in more forgotten histories, untold stories, and detailed examinations of the forces that shaped our world, please consider subscribing. Every week, we uncover another fascinating chapter, ensuring you don't miss out on the next historical revelation or the next compelling analysis that makes you rethink what you thought you knew. Join our community of curious minds today.